What you're about to see is an audio podcast, except it's got video because it's like spy cams. Imagine it's Stickum in 1998. No, wait, 2008. Anyway, hey, Darren.
Hey, what is Stickum? Is that like Text
You don't-
America? Can I
Yeah,
use that
yeah.
on your phone?
After you get done with your Text America blog,
Right.
fire up Stickum. So, Len's not here today. Couldn't be with us today.
Oh, I'm gonna have to change my mood on Angel Fire to kind of bummed out about that.
Well, and so Jenny, okay, so we were going to get another guest, and then that guest fell through, like to do drawings,
Oh no, where did he fall?
and then he fell. It's a Diablo thing. He'll be fine.
It's kind of a pitfall thing.
Yeah, he just needs to find a treasure troll.
There we go.
But Jenny was like, "Oh, I'll take a stab at it." I don't remember what she said exactly, but look at this. Look at what she's doing. That's insane.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's so good. Anyway, so we got art. We got art covered.
Awesome. I have.
What are you doing?
I have power cables that should be plugged into the camera so it doesn't auto power off.
Oh, yes. Good idea.
Yeah, I know. It just
Do that before we start the rest of the show.
love to-
Although, as we said,
See, this is like a
Audio
reverse selfie right here.
that's an elbowy.
See, this is you don't get this anywhere else, right?
That's right. Only on Daily Tech News Show.
hmm
For good or for ill. Extreme Darren close-up.
Gosh.
We got good stuff to talk about today, though. I'm excited.
I am super stoked. We have. Did you know? I actually did a word count. This is the only time I've ever done this, but I did a word count, in fact, because I was like, "Wow, that's a lot of awesome stories," and it was over 2,000 words.
Really?
Which means, and that's just what's in the doc, which means there's probably going to be over 9,000 words we speak.
Look, if you want lots of words in your show, you're in the right place. I'm just saying.
Daily Tech News Show now with more words.
The most words on the internet per minute. Oh boy, that's probably sadly true. All right, you ready to go?
Yes, I am. Let's PK zip this.
Let us jazz drive it up. Here we go.
It only takes a little to help a lot. To show your support for Daily Tech News Show, go to patreon.com/acedetect and pledge just $1 per month. That's patreon.com/ACEDTECT.
This is the Daily Tech News for Friday, May 2nd, 2014. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, it's Friday, which means we got Darren Kitchen from hack5.org, HAK5.org. How's it going, Darren?
So pumped to be here, Tom. Keeping it liquid. Super happy about Friday.
Friday.
Not sure which seat I should take.
Say that again?
I'm not sure about which seat I'm going to take.
Which seat?
Which seat I should take. It's Friday. Never mind.
Oh, that was a Rebecca Black reference,
there
which
we
I
go.
was making too, and then still didn't get. That's
See,
the kind of
this is
Friday
why
shape
you
my
tune
mind.
into this show.
That's right. You know, Len Peralta couldn't be with us today to draw the show as he does on Friday, but our producer, Jenny Josephson, is stepping in quite admirably, I might add, with an OAuth sketch. She'll be working on it throughout the show, so keep an eye on it if you are watching the live stream of the YouTube video, and then we'll figure out a way for the audio folks to access it later. But let's get right to the headlines. Our top story on the subreddit was submitted by Beatmaster80 and Techie Noob. Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, and Google are all updating their policies to expand the notification that they give users when a government agency of some kind requests their personal data. Yahoo announced a similar policy already back in July, and Twitter's pretty much always done this. Users would not be notified if a court order prevents it or if there is an imminent risk of physical harm to a potential crime victim. Also, if you're thinking, this is great, I'm going to find out about no, not about NSA. The policies will have no effect on NSA data collection or national security letters, both of which are required to remain secret by law. We'll talk a little bit more about this. B. Morales submitted a CNET story about Nanyang Technological University student Wang Jin uncovering a flaw in OAuth and OpenID that could be used to steal a login token from services like Facebook or Google when using those services to log in to a third-party site. You know, when you say log in with Facebook and you log in with Facebook even though the site isn't Facebook, it's that kind of thing. The token could then be used, once it's stolen, to retrieve data from Google or Facebook, getting your personal data. Mashable's Christina Warren has an excellent write-up of this issue. It's not a weakness in OAuth at all. It's caused by a weak implementation on the third-party website side, which could be mitigated by certain practices on the side of the Facebooks and Googles of the world. Also, the attack requires you to click a suspicious link and choose to then log in with a service. So no, this is not another Heartbleed, and Darren and I are definitely going to talk more about this. The Next Web reports Microsoft's Windows Phone manager Joe Belfiore held a Reddit AMA today where he said Windows Phone will get a file manager by the end of the month, hopefully. The app will let you create new folders, move files from one folder to another, and search within folders. Excited, Darren?
I am. In fact, rumor has it that the app will support such commands as dir, move, copy, cd, mkdir. There's still no word yet about Deltree, but I'm not losing hope.
Yeah, I think they should call it DOS.
Ooh,
app.
that's catchy. I think
you know what though? This is cool. I'm actually I'm happy for this because you don't get this in iOS at all, and you do get some versions of this with Android, but they're not from Google as far as I know.
You know, that is kind of really strange. But again, aren't we supposed to like forget about where our files are and just trust the cloud and the search?
Trust the cloud, man. Trust the cloud. Ars Technica reports on a system called Large Emergency Event Digital Information Repository, or LEDIR, meant to let citizens upload videos and photos to help police with investigations and disaster response. Amazon Web Services teamed up with the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department on the project. Santa Barbara, California authorities are the first ones to use the system. They're calling on the public to upload images taken during the riots last month at the Isla Vista community near the University of California, Santa Barbara. Apps for LEDIR are available for iOS and Android. Are you going to make another DIR joke?
No, I was just going to say this is actually fantastic. I mean, if you're trying to pull an influence operation or some psychological op campaign, this is kind of perfect, right? One-stop shop.
Yeah, this is a great way to get the community to participate in all kinds of things, and that's going to be the response, right? That's going to be the concern. And the ACLU has already said, well, wait a minute, now you have the opportunity to tab people or accuse people of things when they're just an innocent bystander. But at the same time, don't we want this? Don't we want, like, it's public, right? We always talk about we should be able to take a picture of a police officer in their public duties. If someone's out in public and there's been a picture of them, isn't it better to give the police more information to be able to create?
And you know what? I say that, and this as a public database is no different than any of the other private silos such as Instagram or Twitter. So, yes, in a way, this is a good thing.
TechCrunch reports Apple bought LuxView, a Santa Clara, California company that develops low-power, micro-LED-based displays for consumer electronics. Company might be used to help Apple develop better battery life and screen brightness in Apple products. The Verge reports the next Call of Duty game, Advanced Warfare, will launch on November 4th and star Kevin Spacey as the head of a private military corporation that has launched an attack on the U.S. The first trailer showed up on the official Call of Duty YouTube page late last night, and Spacey's character in the game looks like Spacey. Like they did a one-to-one mapping of him. It's pretty crazy. Mac Rumors reports Apple is expanding its iTunes Match service to Japan. The service, which costs 3,980 yen per year, that's about $39 US, lets iTunes users match their library with cloud versions of the songs for quick storage, which can then be accessed from any Apple device. So welcome iTunes Match to Japan. Time for some news from you. Cat and Kipper posted a GigaOM story that a class action complaint has been filed against Google alleging secret deals for Samsung and others to use the Google search engine on mobile devices, creating a search monopoly, which in turn makes the devices cost more. The crux of the complaint is that Google offers something called the Mobile Application Distribution Agreement, or MADA, which requires device makers to make Google the default search engine if they want to include Google's other mobile apps like YouTube, the Google Play Store, Maps, etc. Google told GigaOM by email, quote, anyone can use Android without Google, and anyone can use Google without Android.
Right. It's a package deal, right? It kind of reminds me in a way of the Microsoft Windows and Internet Explorer case.
Right.
And so perhaps we're actually going to see something come of this in, say, 10 years.
Yeah, right. I mean, first of all, Microsoft was doing something even worse, which you couldn't get Windows without Internet Explorer. There just wasn't a way. You can get Android without Google's search engine as a default.
Yeah, but then you don't get Google Maps or Gmail.
Yeah. Is it wrong for Google to say, "Hey, we're going to sell our apps as a package"? Is that monopolistic?
No, I mean,
that's what this class.
I
That's
could
what
totally
this
see.
suit's going to
Like,
determine.
if I'm Microsoft and I want to make a distribution of Android, and I just don't want to sign that agreement that says that I have to use the search and the Gmail and all those, that's fine because I wanted to put Bing and MSN and all that other stuff on there instead.
Yeah, and there are third-party search engines like DuckDuckGo. There are third-party mapping apps. There's Open Maps out there. So you do have alternatives. The question is whether those alternatives, there were alternatives to Internet Explorer too, right? And that didn't necessarily help Microsoft.
Right.
Although,
Internet Explorer is in fact the best web browser to download a better web browser.
Well, now that they've patched it, yes. Metal Freak sent in the PC World story about the Attorney General for the U.S. state of Washington filing a lawsuit against a company that raised $25,000 on Kickstarter but failed to deliver its product, at least so far. A retro horror playing card deck called Asylum was the thing that was Kickstarted. The project was funded in October 2012, so more than a year ago. Has yet to deliver any rewards. Kickstarter's terms of use require creators to fulfill all rewards of their projects or refund backers. You don't have to deliver the product, but you have to deliver the rewards. The complaint filed in King County Superior Court seeks restitution for consumers and as much as $2,000 per violation of the state's Consumer Protection Act.
So if they were just trying to run off with the money, they just needed to change the rewards to be something more feasible, like macaroni glued to a paper plate.
Yeah, and then make sure to ship out the macaroni glued to a paper plate, and then you're covered,
and then,
right?
Dude, done. 25 grand in the bank.
Beatmaster80 pointed us to the Recode story that Lila Tretikov has been named executive director of the Wikimedia Foundation. That's the nonprofit organization that runs all of the Wikimedia projects, like Wikipedia, most famously. Outgoing director Sue Gardner will end her term on June 1st. Tretikov was previously chief product officer at Sugar CRM. Tretikov's personal background growing up in the Soviet Union and her experience in open source engineering seem to be the main reasons she got the job. Captain Kipper posted an IT World story that Sony has developed magnetic tape that stores data at 148 gigabits per square inch, 74 times, or around there, the density of standard tapes. That could mean 185 terabyte tape cartridges. Currently, the LTO6 cartridges that are out there can handle up to 2.5 terabytes. Tape is still used for long-term data storage. Those of you laughing right now, the Tape Storage Council industry reports tape capacity shipments grew by 13% in 2012, and they were projected to grow by 26% last year.
That's right. Never underestimate the throughput of a station wagon full of DAT tapes.
That's right, man. I mean, you may not get fast retrieval, but you can get massive storage. 185 terabytes on a tape.
See, and this is why I love, in fact, that will be a quote in 10 years from now, because I love any time on any of these shows that we mention gigabytes on a SD card. You know, like it's so great. It's so great.
Does anyone need a gigahertz processor? That's ridiculous.
Well, how many cores does said gigahertz have? Anyway.
I'm just quoting the title of a column I wrote for the screensavers.com back in 1990.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Putinki pointed to a Slashdot posting about a Vanderbilt University graduate student working at Oak Ridge National Laboratory who has discovered a way to create 3 atom-thick nanowires capable of linking transistors and other components. It's a step toward devices that could be as thin as a sheet of paper. The devices would be that thin. And that, my friends, is a look at the headlines. Hey, I want to tell you about the Sword and Laser Anthology. If you like science fiction and fantasy, this has been put together by myself and Veronica Belmont as part of our Sword and Laser book club. 20 stories from new writers, 10 of them science fiction, 10 of them fantasy, a foreword by Patrick Rothfuss, and it's available now at swordandlaser.com/store. We spent more than a year putting this thing together. We went through amazing amounts of really, really good stories to figure out who was going to get into that anthology. So we're really excited that it's out there. Go check it out. It's available as an ebook as well as a print publication, swordandlaser.com/store. Thank you, Beatmaster, for putting that in the chat room. All right, let's talk about this OAuth thing, Darren. It's OAuth 2.0, not OAuth 1, and OpenID that have been identified by Wang Jing, but a lot of people are saying this isn't new.
Well, I mean, open redirects are nothing new, and so this is just a clever use of those open redirects. The idea there is you get an email and it's like, hey, go to PayPal. Say I'm going to use PayPal as an example because they get a lot of scam emails. But so it's like, hey, log into your PayPal, and it's like click this link, and you look at the link, and it's paypal.com/a bunch of stuff, and of course you don't read it to the end, but throughout the URL, it eventually gets to a place where this has to be supported by the website, but say redirect equals attackerswebsite.com. And so when you click on it, it takes you to the website, but then bounces you to the forged or to the evil website. And so this takes advantage of the way that OpenID and OAuth work by allowing you to have a single sign-on. It's kind of, it was the dream of the 90s as far as Passport, Microsoft Passport is concerned, but realized now through services like Google and Yahoo and LinkedIn. And it's convenient, and as we know, anytime there is anything that is convenient, it is at odds, of course, with security. And so this is a clever way to take advantage of a redirect where you could authorize a legitimate site, but since that legitimate site has not whitelisted every possible place that they could be redirecting you, they could inadvertently send your data over to a malicious website.
Yeah, if you look at URLs often, as I do, you will see question marks after the .html often. And stuff after that is sort of in a realm of otherness, right? It's not seen as the part of the URL that's important. It's other things, usually tracking IDs. You see them all the time on RSS readers. But it can also be a redirect where you click on the link and then it says, oh, I'm actually not going to go to that URL. I'm going to look at this redirect URL that's after the question mark. And that's how it can fool OpenID, which could be just looking at the main domain name and going, yep, that domain name's fine, and not realizing it's being redirected to some totally different domain name.
Right, and if you look at a lot of URLs, say, I don't know, Google Maps, for example, and you actually take a look at all of the different things after each ampersand, it's very similar to what you would see, say, in a command line where you're entering a bunch of different parameters for a program. They're usually beginning with a dash sign or something like that. And so it's like you're talking to the website through the URL and you're saying, hey, go to this zip code and zoom in at this level. That's an example for Google Maps. And so the redirect one, if the website supports it, would say, hey, go to this website after that. And that's useful for forwarding customers on to different partners if you're doing an advertising campaign or something like that. But it can be used for nefarious means if you haven't whitelisted who all of those potential partners are.
Right, and the if you have authorized it part is the important part here. There's actually nothing wrong with OAuth 2.0. At least this is not something, let me back off of that. There might be plenty of other things wrong. This is not something that's actually wrong with OAuth 2.0. It's that the third-party client that is using OAuth to log you in is not doing what it's supposed to do in the spec to make sure that it's not being redirected. And there's also things that Facebook and Google could do to mitigate, but require their partners to whitelist. Google told Jing they're aware of the problem and are tracking it at the moment. Essentially, that sounds to me like they're saying, we're going to see how much of a problem this is before we worry too much about it. And Facebook said, yeah, we acknowledge this is an issue, but each site would need a whitelist, and that, quote, isn't something that can be accomplished in the short term. So they're saying, we don't think this is a big enough problem to go through the trouble of kicking a bunch of people out of our system because they don't have a whitelist.
Yeah, it would take a lot of manpower. I mean, this isn't something that you could easily automate, and so you would actually have to have a team of people going through and making sure every website that's using the system is legit and every website that's using the system is compliant to some sort of standard that doesn't allow an open redirect, meaning a redirect from your website to potentially a malicious one.
Yeah. So that's why I said in the headlines, this isn't Heartbleed, right?
Well, okay, but in a way, though, and this is what I find interesting about this. I mean, the technical merits of this vulnerability are interesting in a way, and it is a classic example of, say, a vendor problem where one vendor is like, well, it's not our problem, it's their problem, and the other vendor, well, they have no reason to fix this because it's just manpower on their side with no return, no benefit. So But what is interesting is the way that it's getting the mainstream attention. Because, see, previously, there's two major camps for this kind of stuff. You've got your responsible disclosure, and you've got full disclosure, but I feel like recently there's this new avenue of the sky is falling marketing disclosure.
Yeah, making up logos is now the hot thing after
Heartbleed. You're going to need a cool name. You're going to have a pretty website that outlines it in giant fonts, and then all of the news media will pick it up, and potentially you'll get some. I don't even know what the purpose of that is, other than maybe like getting some security work on the side afterwards.
Maybe, or marketing work for a security firm later.
Right.
The things you have to worry about here is that if someone were to use this vulnerability, they could get your personal information. They can't really get your password, right? Because they're just getting a token that lets them imitate you.
No, actually, the better way to do that would be to do them in the middle, and then instead of popping up the OAuth thing, you would actually pop up the Facebook login, and then Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, exactly. So this is different than that. What the clever thing is here is you're using the legitimate site. So even if you see the full URL, you may not notice that there's anything going on.
It's kind of like, where does a bit.ly link go? Where does a tiny URL go?
Yeah, well, you're going to look up and you're going to see, oh, that says hack5.org / a bunch of stuff. I'm at hack5.org. Right? I'm fine. And then I'm going to click on the hack5.org Facebook thing, and I'm actually using Facebook. There is no man in the middle attack with this. But what happens is you get redirected and you don't realize it. And so then they can pretend to be you and get your personal information until that token for that session expires, which it will eventually. So the key here to preventing yourself from being taken in by this is to not click on links that you don't know, or go to websites that you don't realize, because that's how it gets started. If you go directly to hack5.org or any other website, they're not going to be able to get to you. You have to get phished.
And you know, to the credit of OpenID and OAuth, I should probably point out that this is, in fact, a better system than what was used previously. Circa 2005, 2006, there was a lot of web services that could do cool things with, say, your Twitter account if you authorized them. And there was no good way for a third party to be authorized. And so they would literally ask for your Twitter username and password. And people would give this up voluntarily because they would get a cool service in return. And so to demonstrate the point, back in that day, I set up a website called twitterfisher.com, and thousands of people signed up for it, and it said right there in bold, like, we're harvesting your accounts for viral link farming. And we never did anything malicious with it, but it was just as an example.
Proof of point,
and so this is so much better than that.
Yeah, and the viciousness of Heartbleed was that you would never know. There was nothing you could do if a server was vulnerable to it. There was no way around it. The easy thing to do here is like more common vulnerabilities, which is don't click on links or visit websites that you don't trust.
Sure, well, but even still, though, it should be addressed in some sort of manner.
Sure,
I mean, I expect that in the next implementation of OpenID and OAuth, there will be this should be addressed, especially now that it's getting all the media attention.
Well, what can OAuth do? They already say in the threat model, if the authorization server allows the client to register only part of the redirection URI, an attacker can use an open redirector operated by the client. They're saying you need to not allow that. I don't know what else OAuth could do. The spec says don't do this, and people did it anyway.
What I'm saying is they could implement a way in which they would then become responsible for the other website that has the potential flaw. And I'm not saying that's a good solution, but there are ways to enforce that, kind of a compliance model.
Yeah. Okay.
It could get really sticky pretty quick. I'm not suggesting that, but anyway.
But that is something. Yeah, that is a possibility. Just to acknowledge it. Hey, real quickly, I want to talk about this Washington Post story that Apple, Microsoft, and Facebook updating their policies to expand notifications. So if law enforcement or the FBI come with a subpoena. This doesn't involve search warrants, so this isn't for content of messages, but like a pen register type of thing. They're like, hey, we want to know who Darren emailed and when. We don't want to know we can't get the contents because we don't have a search warrant. We're going to give you a subpoena. These companies are going to go, great, we're going to tell this person that you're doing that, right? The U.S. Justice Department spokesman Peter Carr said, these risk endangering life, risking destruction of evidence, or allowing suspects to flee or intimidate witnesses, and they're not merely hypothetical, but unfortunately routine. So this is why they would rather companies don't do this. But the companies are saying, look, in response to Edward Snowden and all the worries about privacy, we need to change our policy to do this. Twitter's always done it. We're not going to cooperate anymore. They're not cooperating with the FBI and local law enforcement, but it doesn't change the problem of the Snowden leaks, which is the NSA, which isn't affected by this policy at all because the law says you can't tell anyone about an NSA request, so they can't do anything about it. Is this actually doing the right thing, or is this just all a bunch of publicity?
I don't know if it's doing the right thing. I know that as far as doing the right thing for Google or for any of these companies, it's doing the right thing because I mean, they look better, right? They say, hey, we're fighting for the user, and in this climate, that's absolutely a good thing for your PR. But this, on the flip side, means that, for instance, if the FBI or a local police department wants to read your email without tipping you off, they're going to have to either get a rubber stamp from the FISA court or go through the trouble of actually hacking your email or hacking your computer. And that's actually something that's already there are notifications for. If you're watching the video version, you may have seen, well, hopefully you've never seen this, but Gmail, for instance, will actually pop up a thing that says that, based on traffic patterns that it's noticed, that it would actually let you know if your account's been compromised, which is, really great for things where, for instance, in terms of Arab Spring, a lot of email accounts being hacked, people being disappeared, and this being a way to let people know, like, hey, you might want to, lock this down because you're not the only one in your inbox. So this is kind of akin to that, but yeah, it does have other ramifications that are, I guess, important to acknowledge.
Yeah, so in response to rampant government surveillance by the federal government, big companies and government have done nothing to reduce rampant government surveillance by the federal government. They've just decided to not cooperate with local law enforcement and some FBI investigations. This does not affect national security letters from the FBI, does not affect anything from the FISA court for the NSA. All it does is make local law enforcement's job a little harder, arguably for good reason, right? I mean, the ACLU would say they should have been doing this all along because it was never illegal, and it's one of the checks and balances that we need.
Right.
But there's it's like, why didn't they do it before, and why do it now when it actually doesn't do anything to stem the problem?
Well, I mean, some could argue better late than never, and very similar to, say, having your house searched. Like, your house is being searched, you're there, and there's a bunch of cops in there. So, and at least then you can actually be present to know that they're not looking for an elephant in a matchbox.
Yeah, unless they have a warrant to look for an elephant in a matchbox.
It could be
a very tiny elephant.
There are sometimes.
There might be trade secrets involved.
I'd say that I'm not bummed out by this. I as a consumer, I'm like, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Hooray for the user. I'm more interested in the ongoing lawsuit between Microsoft and Google and the Department of Justice as far as the national security letters and those things. And so we get no transparency with that. So I feel like maybe that's kind of the place where we need more transparency before we get it down at the lower level. But
yeah. A little bit of a PR move, in my opinion.
Oh,
right, let's check the calendar. Tomorrow, Saturday, May 2nd, Free Comic Book Day. More than 60 titles available for free tomorrow, including Guardians of Galaxy and the Archie Digest.
Nice.
On Monday, May 5th, do we have conferences? Yes, you guessed it, conferences. HBaseCon 2014 in San Francisco is the community event for Apache HBase. In Berlin, Next Berlin happens May 5th and 6th, in which speakers try to divine what the new normal will be in the near future. And back in San Francisco, Sales 2.0 is also on May 5th and 6th, in which a bunch of salespeople get together and try to figure out how to sell you the new normal. San Francisco Bay Area Hacker Brunch happening with the Hack 5 folks this Sunday on Star Wars Day. Well done. May the 4th be with you, Darren.
Yes. Come on out to Point Richmond. It's really quaint here, and we are going to have some awesome brunch, and we're going to be showing off some really cool autonomous drone Pineapple-y platform stuff. So it's a place where you can show your work in progress and just kind of hang out with other Bay Area geeks and hackers.
You should serve pineapples and Spam.
We should. Last week we had bottomless mimosas. Maybe we can make some pineapple
Actually, that's
cocktails.
A much better idea, even though it has no other. No, there's not a pun. It's just a mimosa.
But it is open for all ages as well. So.
Our pick of the day today comes from Luke, looking to get into some Dogecoins before that Dogecoin car, the Doge car, takes the track at Talladega this weekend. He says, not sure how to navigate crypto exchanges. Have no fear. Dogeforsale.com is here. DOGE for sale, FORSALE.com. It's a site where users can buy and sell Dogecoins with PayPal, Google Wallet, and debit cards. And the site is a basic escrow service. It holds the coins during the transaction, so you can get Dogecoins fast and securely. Much speed, very secure. And a disclaimer, Luke is a seller on the site by the name of Sky Jedi.
I prefer to get my Dogecoin in paper. That's the way to do it. Paper Dogecoin.
You can find all our picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. We're going to finish off with a few messages of the day, and the first one is a call.
Hello, Tom. This is DeGrazier calling from Atlanta, Georgia. Love this show. Hey, I'm calling in response to episode 2225, where you and Denise are speaking on the FCC and Wheeler's comment. The way I interpret his comments are in the sense where he wants to create a new HOV lane for traffic. The internet works now, so for smaller startups and smaller businesses who want to share, for instance, video, they would use the internet as is. It works fine right now. There's not a lot of problem. The comments about having the traffic directed to a congested lane, I don't think that's the intentions of Wheeler in his comments. He wants to have the individuals, the companies that own the pipes, create larger and more capable pipes, leaving the internet as is, and maybe even relieving some of the traffic congestion we have now by taking those companies that produce a lot of traffic and putting them on another pipe, which is larger and more capable of handling the data. And those are my comments. Those are my 2 cents. And love the show. I'm a proud patron, and please keep up the good work. Catch you later. Bye.
Hey, thanks for the support, man. I appreciate that. Yes, I think you've made the argument that Tom Wheeler is trying to make very clear. That's what he wants you to believe. That's what he's trying to say, is we just want to do this. Darren, the other side of it is, if you allow that HOV lane to be built for the people who can pay, what's to stop them from just letting the other lanes be full of potholes?
Well, you would have to have a good business reason to fill the potholes as they were. And so if you're not getting as much money for that road, then I don't see an incentive. So yeah,
I know what Degrassi is saying here is, hey, the internet works great now. We're just going to we're going to maybe relieve some of that congestion and make it work even better.
Well, you relieve congestion. You've been relieving congestion for the last 15 years by doing the same thing you've always done, which is increase the capacity of the pipe as a whole. So creating another separate pipe, while it relieves congestion, it creates a whole new can of worms, which is what we've been talking about.
Imagine, if you will, that this had been put in place in 2004. And then what happened was everybody who was at 2004 speeds stayed at 2004 speeds unless they could afford to pay to upgrade. And all of a sudden, you don't have Netflix because they could never afford to pay that for a service at a time when not that many people were going to get it. Right? It was just too much of a cost, so they just don't do it. And you don't have YouTube started because the YouTube folks are like, yeah, I could pay for that faster thing, but honestly, who am I? I'm not real. I'm not real video. I don't have a bunch of money for that. So, I mean, the idea is that you reduce the impetus for innovation by putting a tax on growth.
Actually, I think that would be akin to, remember when we all moved from dial-up modems to cable or DSL? Well, imagine if that cable or DSL internet was a different internet, kind of like CompuServe and AOL in the 90s. It would, you would have, and actually this isn't to say that you couldn't technically stream a Netflix movie on dial-up. You would just see one frame every couple of seconds, and it would not be a very enjoyable experience. But you'd have to buffer for 24 hours.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that you couldn't get those bits if you were really patient.
The question, I mean, I have no issue with what Degrassi said in his call, but the question is, what are the implications of doing that? and the implications are not necessarily good. They could change fundamentally the way the internet works. Go read that Verge article that TC Sawtek wrote about what the internet might look like if only the people who can afford to pay for the distribution can get distribution. It starts to look like cable television at that point, and it does. It starts to sound a little like AOL wanted the world to look like.
The cable television industry, of course, likes that model. It's
Yes,
been working for
that's
them
why
for
they're
a long
pushing for
time,
it.
and the last
That's
thing
why
they
they're-
want to do is be a common carrier of bits.
Well, yes, that's why they have the former head of the National Cable and Television Association, the NCTA, as the head of the FCC now. His name is Tom Wheeler. James from Long Beach wrote in, speaking of common carrier, I enjoyed your discussion about the proposed FCC regulations. It struck me that maybe we're underestimating Wheeler. He may want to change the classification to common carrier, but knows that the only way he can push it through is if he has massive support. What better way to get public support to make a proposal using the inflammatory words commercially reasonable? Of course the internet will outrage. If that develops into enough support, he could look like he has no other choice than to reclassify. Dropping the hint that he is willing to do that only emboldens the opponents of the new rules to know that they have a possibility of changing something. Could Wheeler be 2 steps ahead of everyone, Darren?
Well, this is your typical thing when you're trying to push something through Congress. You're like, yeah, we want to raise taxes and do all this other stuff and kill puppies. So yeah, vote. And they're like, whoa, 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 nobody's killing any puppies. Oh, yeah, we're taking the killing puppies out. So we're good now?
Yeah, I don't think that's what's going on. Neither does Jenny. Jenny wrote, I wish it were so, but I'm forced to believe the Occam's razor theory. If it looks like a former lobbyist and sounds like one, it's probably a duck. So yeah. Maybe you're right, James. Maybe you're right. I'm not even sure I want common carrier or Title II either. My thing is we really need to focus on competition. I've said that till I'm blue in the face. Hey, finally, I wanted to let you know that the folks at PodCamp Nashville wrote in. They've been doing PodCamp for the last 6 years. They're one of the last traditional PodCamps left. They get over 400 plus people every year. And they're trying to crowdfund another year of PodCamp Nashville happening May 17th. They've got until the end of this week to get the money they need or have to cut out major parts of the event. So for as little as $100, you can become a friend of the event that has been vital to the Nashville creative community. This Friday is the deadline. They need to make a $2,500 payment on the event. So go right now, if you can, unless it's Saturday, to bit.ly/PCN14friend. And if you can help them out, do so. PodCamp Nashville asking for your help, and a member of the community here at Daily Tech News Show. So I thought I'd pass that along. You don't have to give the $2,500. They're just looking for a little help from a bunch of people. Crowdsource. All right. Time to see what Jenny has been up to trying to fill in for Len. I've been kind of watching this.
The operative word here. So, all right, a little word ahead of time is I'm not Len, but, and it's a little backwards, which is fitting. But
no, it's right. It's right to us.
Okay, good. This is called What's a Poor Normal to Do? And as you can see, we have a normal here, and she's being slowly engulfed by Heartbleed. And over here is Mr. OpenID OAuth misdirecting. He's covertly misdirecting here. You've got the Stuxnet. I don't know if you can see that. You've got over here a little bunch of SQL bugs trying to attack my Target credit card. We've got my hacked PlayStation ID. I mean, this is like my life, right? Like everything I use becomes, and then of course, in behind it all is the NSA. So,
yeah, see, you don't need to worry. They're watching you from right there.
Yeah, they're watching out for me. Oh, and yes, little hacked Yahoo. Yahoo got hacked.
Aww.
Everybody got hacked. Everybody gets hacked. So yeah, this is the state of the normal in 2014. We don't know what to do. We're a little freaked out, and really all we can do is watch the Daily Tech News Show with Tom Merritt and Darren Kitchen and everybody else who knows what to do. There you go.
Darren, do you have any comforting words for the normal in this picture?
Well, it used to be that you could do ATL0+++, but you can't disconnect anymore. You could try, but then you're in a cabin in Utah. And I'm not saying that place isn't beautiful, but
Yep.
it's interesting. I actually really love that one, and you should put it up because I think that it says like such a powerful message.
Yeah, it's we are being it is the ultimate left behind. You
It
know?
is the emotional state of the internet encapsulated in one picture.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Helplessness.
So are you gonna scan it and put it up somewhere?
I will scan it and put it up for free somewhere where it can be downloaded.
Excellent.
Because everybody gives so much to us. We will give one poorly drawn manga art
That's
back
not
to
poorly
them.
drawn. That's pretty good.
That's good stuff. In fact,
Certainly
I feel
much
like
better than I could do.
what we're saying here is that on the internet there are only 10 types of people: those who hack and those who are hacked.
Yeah.
And those who
Yeah.
understand binary.
Okay,
Yeah, I know. I sort of got that joke. So yeah, all right. So we'll put it up.
So
We'll
hack
put
or be
it in
hacked.
the show notes. Hack or be hacked, or just turn everything off and go read a book, which is
Yeah.
what I'll be doing.
If you're brave enough to continue to use the internet, look for the link in our show notes at dailytechnewsshow.com.
Oh man, if only there was a place that I could get a book like about the history of technology.
Oh,
Man,
jeez.
that would be good
If
stuff.
only we're
That-
drawn or animated or something.
I would love that.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. You could do a search.
What would I search
Chronology-
for on the
Chronology of
internet?
tech history might get you somewhere. I don't know. I'm more interested in learning about what the hackers are doing so that I can defend myself with knowledge, Darren Kitchen.
Yes. Well, you can get yourself a dose of knowledge every week at hak5.org. We are currently in the midst of 2 series. We're doing a big series on software-defined radio, teaching the ins and outs of how that works on a fundamental level. Shannon just showed off some cool things you could do with your Android phone to do fun radio stuff. And we just launched a new open source drone series with Peter Estentempsky up in Oregon. He is a amazing open source flight controller or autopilot developer, and we are building an autonomous drone Wi-Fi hacking platform that is going to be so much fun to demo at DEF CON.
That is fantastic. Check it out, folks. HAK5.org. Once again, huge thanks to the patrons that make this show possible. Patreon.com is the place to go to investigate that. You can search Tom Merritt if you want to find out how to help this show, or go to bit.ly/helpdtns. But 3,857 of the audience are making this show possible, so give your thanks to them. Unless you're one of them, then just pat yourself on the back. We really appreciate everything you guys have done to help keep this show going. Don't forget, you can have a voice in what stories we cover at our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. It really helps us put the show together, so get in there and at least vote if you don't submit links. Email us feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Give us a call, like we had today, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. And listen to the show live at mobile.alphageekradio.com, Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. And our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. We'll be back Monday with John Strickland as our guest. See you then.
This podcast is part of the Frog Pants Studios Network. For more information about this and other shows, visit frogpants.com. Audio program so good, it's like you're there.
Yay!
We did the show!
Good job, everybody.
Yes!
Good job.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun.
I added a cat because that's
Oh, yeah.
so
It's not the
great.
Because it
internet
is the
without
internet.
cats.
Yeah.
How's it going to
Yeah.
be the internet without a cat?
It's really hard to show this, but anyway, it's a little Kitty cat on
Sliding
it
on the S.
because the internet is all about cats.
You could even get Zeus up in there. I'm just saying, like, this could go on forever.
I know. It's a very busy busy drawing. I have not learned
The
the art of it.
internet is for cats.
Yeah.
The
So I don't have to be
internet-
worried about open ID covert business.
Just don't click on weird links. That one's an easy one. This is
Yeah,
the
it's all-
defense against this is the
This
defense
article.
against all bad things on the internet, right?
Pay attention.
Well, if like a lot of times it's like, oh, to see these celebrity photos, you have to authorize your Facebook. Maybe no.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, okay. That's easy enough. Titles. Okay, titles.
Titles.
Bring on all the titles.
I didn't forget FSL 40 Thieves. We had other things to plug today.
Yeah, was it a
But
long
yeah,
time?
if you're into FSL Tonight, go to FSLTonight.com and back the Kickstarter if you haven't
Social
already.
plug.
Plug. All right, title. Well, that IE joke is old. It's a good joke, classic. I'm just saying, I'm not sure that makes
Which IE joke?
the best browser to download a better browser.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry.
It's all right. It's a classic.
No, it's a good joke. I just title wise, I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. Actually, when I first got on the proper internet, not through a BBS through links, but my dial-up local mom-and-pop ISP walked me through using the FTP client built into Windows to FTP to their system after I've dialed in to, first of all, get a better, what is it called, Trumpet Windsock thingy.
Trumpet Windsock? Yeah,
of course. And also to download Mosaic off of FTP. And they're like, show it, they're like, oh, do LS or whatever. And I'm like, oh, it's just like Linux. Cool. This is Linux. I know this.
Good old Trumpet Windsock, man.
How about, so Nth Mike had O off, and I had O off.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
And then Beatmaster had COD meets HOC, which,
Yeah.
oh, that's a good one. Toby Pinder has authentication frustration.
Ooh.
I don't get the...
What's your station?
You don't get which one?
I don't get the COD means HOC.
Call of Duty meets House of Cards.
Oh, I don't know what House of Cards is, but...
That's what
Call
Kevin Spacey stars in on Netflix.
Oh, I get it now. That's cute.
I like off.
Yeah, off this kind of...
That would be an Nth Mike 2/Jenny J.
That'd be like an alley-oop from Nth Mike with Jenny like slamming it home.
Right.
Off SpaghettiOs.
Yeah,
Is SpaghettiOs a brand name? I think that is.
Yeah.
It is.
That's all right. We're using it in a parabolic manner.
Parabolic.
Manner. Parabolic parodic. All right.
The parabolic
Friday.
artery.
We'll just go with off.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I like that.
I'm only familiar with parabolic waveforms.
You would
wave.
be.
Yeah.
You and your mobile Wi-Fi hacking platform drones.
Well, what's really exciting now is that the van has been turned into a launch platform where I will be able to take off and land from the solar panels. Turns out, great landing platform. But sit inside with Oculus Rift on in the comfort of the air conditioning of my van and still have like 35-mile range.
Someday, Darren, you're going to accidentally invent transporters, and then you're going to be in a lot of trouble because you're going to be stuck in between this reality and whatever the other reality is.
Okay, I wasn't sure if
you don't show up.
Formers or transporters, but I'm down with either.
Transporters. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're gonna be like playing with some old radio, and all of a sudden, boop, he's gone.
Yeah. If I was working on transporting technology, I would do it on the Mars moon Deimos or possibly Phobos. Right. Probably both of those, and I would need some Space Marines, of course, to keep things cool.
Yep.
And I would just really hope that I don't find a Hellmound, because then things could really get loose and wicked.
Nice. Well played.
Yep.
Have you read The Martian yet, Darren?
No, I haven't. I was making a Doom reference.
I know, but it just when you started to say Phobos, it made me think, oh my God.
Actually, with the Marines, you were half making a Star Trek Enterprise reference too.
Ah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you have to have Space Marines, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh yeah. Space
I was
Marines
thinking about opening an ice cream shop, but I was like, I don't have enough Space Marines.
Will the Better Business Bureau approve loans for Space Marines as a business expense?
Maybe if they're mercenaries.
Better Business Bureau. What am I talking about? Small Business Administration is what I meant to say.
Yeah, if they've been privatized Space Marines. We don't want any of these government ones. We always want the mercenary type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, obviously. No socialized Space Marines.
Mm-mm.
None of that. Canada?
Oh, I am about to start Influx. I'm excited.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. I finished Kill Decision, so...
That's on my list, too.
Kill Decision? You haven't read it yet?
No, Influx.
Oh, Influx. Oh, I thought you had it.
I do, but I haven't started reading it yet.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, I'm in the same boat, in fact. Tom and I are sitting there, and I've got the left oar, and he's got the right oar.
And I'm just like...
Oh, yes, there you go. Yeah, except mine's on Audible, so I'm like this with my phone.
You know, what's funny is I'm probably going to use one of my Audible credits to read it anyway, even though Daniel was very nice. Daniel's great, and he sent me that.
Nice. Yeah, no, I still like having the physical manifestation of it, whatever it may be, whatever it is. The thing.
Yeah, no, I do too.
You can't be an otaku without
for
having a
books
wall
that
of
I'm a
things.
fan of, and I know I'm going to be a fan of this, but like I have Freedom TM, I have Demon first editions, I have all my Patrick Rothfuss first editions.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to think about. Like, if you go on Netflix now, for example, using Netflix as an example, and you're trying to find that thing that you liked as a kid that's probably kind of esoteric, right? Well, the thing that you like now may later, when you're an adult and you want to show your kids, be so esoteric that you won't be able to unless you actually do get the Blu-ray.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you mentioned the Blu-ray thing. Eileen and I never saw The Amazing Spider-Man. That is the prequel for the one that's out this weekend.
Okay.
And we wanted to watch it before we go see the one this weekend.
Makes sense.
You can only buy it on digital for like $10. You can't rent it.
I had the same problem with, I had never seen the Iron Man series, so I just watched all of them. And one of them, I think it was the third one, I didn't have the opportunity to rent. I could only buy.
Yeah.
And
So we're like, well, we don't want to own it.
frustrating. Yeah.
And yeah, $10 isn't that
Well,
much, but
I wouldn't
really,
mind doing it as long as you could then sell it again. Like, oh, well,
Right.
you know, it's used. A used copy of a digital download.
so what we ended up doing was borrowing a Blu-ray copy from one of Eileen's coworkers.
Oh, that's even better. That's
So they could have had $3.99, $4.99 out of us one night when we were ready to watch
Right.
this, but instead we've actually gone old-fashioned and they're getting $0.
Oh, that's fantastic. And if only there was like a store, kind of like a bookstore, but in fact, you could probably do this in a bookstore where you could exchange both books and movies.
You mean using the right of first sale doctrine?
Well, yes, it would be. And in fact, a Blu-ray is a digital copy. It just so happens that you can hold it. So unlike that one that you got on the Google Play Store that you're kind of bummed that you now own,
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
because you can't unown it.
yeah, or transfer the license of it.
Yeah, transferring licenses is interesting. I know Cory Doctorow for a while was really pushing for the ability to have a right of first sale for digital copies, but I always felt like that was just silly. Like
Well,
when an infinitely copyable medium,
it's not.
you can't have a right of first sale.
It's not silly. The what is it called? The Blu-ray is a digital copy. It just so happens to be burned to
Yeah,
a
but your right of first sale isn't for the digital content; it's for the disc
right.
and what's on it. But obviously, but you know, like
Well, the disc
just-
is useless without the bits.
I just feel like on digital stuff, it's like no, you could maybe transfer the license to it.
Well, that's the thing is when
But
you
is
buy the
that's
disc,
not the same as right
when you
of
buy
first
the
sale.
disc, you definitely feel like you own the disc, right? But
Yeah.
what you actually own is a license, which is interesting too, because it's not like software where there's actually, when you undo the shrink wrap, there's like a license that says by opening this shrink wrap, you agree to the license that you can only show this to no more than 5 family members and a
Yeah.
dog, maybe 2 dogs if they're small. Anything.
But yeah,
more
you can't
public-
publicly perform it. You don't
right.
get that.
And
Don't get that right.
see, when I was a big proponent of, before YouTube had dominance, Google Video, and I actually bought videos on Google Video. They were like $2 a piece, right? And when Google Video actually went under, they revoked the DRM for all of those videos. So those videos that I bought, I no longer owned. However, they were actually cool enough, and I can't imagine the business calculation that they had to make to do this. Maybe I was like their other customer, you know, it was me and Ned. But Ned and I got like a refund for all the videos we had
Yeah.
ever purchased.
I got one. I had only purchased a couple, but I got like a $5 refund, I think.
Yeah, me too. For all my appearances of Call for Help that I can never get again. But anyway, whatever. That's besides
I
the point.
bought
It's
like an episode of Deep Space Nine and an episode of Firefly, I think.
But it's like acknowledging, like, oh, that's a good, and we're taking it away from you. You know, we didn't sell you. We sold you the perpetual rights to watch this, and so now since we're taking that back, here's your money.
Yeah.
You know, what's going to happen when any of these other sites go under like that, and they don't have the, you know, it's like they get to the GeoCities point where it's like, well, we were making money, now we're not. I'm on a long enough timeline.
And then everybody's going to go, wait a minute, this never happens to my music when a site goes out of business because my music isn't DRM'd.
Yeah, because I can download and back it up.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. I can get it out of the chemtrail-filled cloud and put it on my hard drive.
What's a hard drive?
I know. I'm just spreading conspiracy theory now. I should probably roll because I have drones in the mail I got to go pick up and build.
Roll in with the drone.
Likely story.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, thanks, man.
Absolutely. That was a really fun one.
Yeah, that was really good. Thanks for
Good to
doing
be
that.
back in studio. Thanks for dealing with the bad audio.
Oh, no
fix
worries.
it
Actually, your
next
audio ended up being fine, as goofy as that sounds.
week. Well, what's even goofier is that I can technically do this.
Whoa!
Not good.
Whoa!
Not good at all. So
Nose
I
cam.
promise never to. I lied. Okay, I promise never to click that again.
Oops.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
All right. Cheers.
All right. Cheers. And we're done. It's published.
Done.
Put
Yeah.
a fork in it.
Gotta
Stick
go
a
put
fork in it. I'm
Can I
going to
go
stop the
put the-
broadcast.
the shna notes in.
Yeah, you're free.
All right.
Show noted up. Bye, YouTube.
Bye, YouTube.